The royal guard riding the horse was struggling more and more to keep an emotionless expression as this careful US tourist just kept annoying his calm horse to get a picture. He was waiting for somebody to get her and take her away. But what he did not expect was that the horse would take matters into its own hands. As the lady annoyed the horse, he never took its eyes off her. It was as if he was waiting for the perfect timing. And then, when she was just close enough, it happened. Everyone gasped as they watched the horse take his sweet revenge on the lady. It was time for the royal guards to do their famous changing of the guards. People had been lined up at the United Kingdom Royal Palace for up to an hour, ready to snap a picture. If the tourists were only annoying the guards, they would have been able to accept it. They had been trained to withstand even the greatest annoyance. But that was not the case for the horses. Tourists had no mercy for these poor animals either, but they were going to regret that very quickly. One of the tourists gathered around was Mildred, a 32-year-old woman who was vacationing in the UK with her boyfriend, Lyle. Mildred really wanted to get a picture of one of the royal guards, and she would do almost anything for it. Because of how unapologetically in their face the tourist had been getting lately, the royal guard had actually sectioned off the route they had to take daily so that tourists could not get in their way. Mildred was at the front of the waist-high barrier, and she could already see how this distance from the royal guards could ruin her picture. And so, as the clock struck 12, it was time for everything to be set in motion. The guards were ready to move to their post and take over the shift of their tired colleagues. When the gate of the palace opened up, the guards were greeted by the sight of dozens of cameras flashing in their faces. Without anybody there to stop her and having handed the camera to her boyfriend, Mildred swiftly jumped over the barrier and wanted to make her way to the still very much unaware royal guards on horseback. Following Mildred's action, dozens of people suddenly jumped the barriers one by one and made their way to the gate where the rider had just emerged from. She needed to go behind the barriers herself at the end, but the guards at least asked her where she stood, and Mildred lied to them that it was right near the entrance. Mildred signed to her boyfriend Lyle that he needed to get the camera ready. He knew what she was planning, and even though he did not fully agree with it, he knew better than to go against his wife. Behind the still closed doors, the royal guards were debating whether they should come out at all today. Maybe they should take more precautions and clear out the plaza. It would also send out a statement to future tourists that their thoughtless actions would actually carry consequences. But most of the guards were against these precautions mainly because of one reason. They had been training for years to do this job, and they were not going to be scared or deterred because of some over-eager tourists. For now, Mildred was still on the lookout near the exit. All the guards came out, and she was very much ready with her plan. At first, she was very surprised that the guard on horseback was not coming out. She was scared that she would maybe not come at all anymore, which would ruin her perfect picture. Mildred was patiently waiting while the guard on horseback was nervously starting to move forward with the line. It was nearly his turn to get out and face the music, and he was not looking forward to it. The guard knew very well that she was the one who started the madness earlier and was afraid she would do it again. As soon as the horse had walked a couple of steps out from the door, Mildred jumped out over the barricade again. She had grabbed a hold of the horse's leash before the guard even noticed she was there. He screams at Mildred to let go of his horse, but this seems to be to no avail. Lyle had not given the all-go sign to Mildred that he had taken a good picture. Because he needed to be quick, he started stunting with the camera. But Mildred is not in a rush. She would not let go of this horse until she had her picture. The guard immediately gives his horse the sign to dash forward, and with how well-trained this animal is, it does not hesitate for a second. It quickly moved forward, catching Mildred completely off guard and making her fall on the ground flat on her face. And while she is trying to make sense of what had just happened, the horse ends up taking his revenge on Mildred in its own creative way. He is coincidentally standing right above her with his ass up in the air. And a horse simply can't stop it. When nature calls, the horse starts to defecate on the now screaming Mildred, and everybody watching cannot help but burst out into laughter. Even Lyle cannot help himself from cracking a smile. Maybe this would learn his wife a bit of a lesson about respect for others. A lot of people had already anticipated that something worth recording was going to happen when the guard screamed at Mildred. Despite her desperate pleas for the footage to be deleted, everybody started posting the videos online for the world to see, and suddenly Mildred went viral online. A lot of the video also gave the context that she was being an absolutely self-absorbed person, and that she got what was coming to her. It luckily did help her to see the light at least somewhat. She understood that she had been a bad person and was probably getting what was coming to her.